Hey there, guys. As you can see, I've already put in my doors, my windows, and all sorts of different components. Now, keep in mind that, your walls might be different, your doors and windows might be different. You're going to customize it to what you want. So don't worry if your project doesn't look like mine. Okay, so we've done our first floor plan, walls, doors, and windows. And I've also done the second floor. Now, if you go to your 3D view, and remember, there's 3 different ways you can access 3D view. Under the View tab, you can hit the 3D view button. At the very top of the screen, over the Annotations tab, you can click the 3D button. And finally, after you've done one of those, you can also access it in your project browser. So, and as we navigate around our object, remember, you can always use the cube there in the upper right-hand corner, but a lot of times I like to use the wheel. Now, you can select a variety of different sizes for the wheel. There's the mini, which is honestly one of my least favorites. Or you can choose the full-size wheel. This is what I normally use. You can orbit, zoom, center, orbit, and generally just move around your model in a bunch of different ways. So as we move around the model, you can see that I went ahead and added the second floor. I downloaded some other components, but there are no roofs, there's no floors, and there's no foundation yet. So now I'm going to show you how you can do all that. So I'm going to go to the first floor, and if you go into the Architecture tab, you'll see floors. So when you go into that floor menu, you'll see generic floors, obviously, but there's other options. But for this, I don't want to use just the generic floor. So I'm going to use a wood joist floor 10 inches. And I'm going to use that floor for the entire space. Now, people often ask me, when you're putting a floor down in Revit, do you do it to the inside wall or the outside wall? And unfortunately, there's no one answer to that. Depending on whether you're doing architecture, engineering, or interior design, what you do is going to be influenced by what you're designing. So for instance, some people might have the floor extend to the outside wall if you're doing a platform construction, but you might place the floor on the inside if you're doing like a skyscraper. So for this project, I'm going to go to the outside of the wall, and as I move around, I'm going to be using the Pick Lines command. The benefit of using pick lines for something like this is that it actually lets you snap to certain objects. So you'll see, as I click around, I am slowly but surely drawing the entire perimeter. Now, if the lines don't quite line up, you can always go through and delete them, or trim them, or modify them as you need. So, alright, it looks like I've got everything done. So if I go ahead and hit the check mark now, well, you'll see an error message pops up. It says that lines cannot intersect, and then it highlights the ones that are intersecting. And you'll see we actually have in front of the front door 2 lines that are intersecting. So then continue, we'll do TR or click the trim button, click on what we want to keep, and then when you hit the check mark, you can see the floor has been created. And now, if we go into the 3D view, we're on the first floor, so when we load it up, you can see that there is a bottom to the model. Now, one thing you can do to make your life a little easier is if your top and bottom levels are exactly the same, you can copy the floor plate up one. Even if the floors are slightly different, you can always copy it up and then edit it so it fits. But you can also always just draw a new floor plan. So I'm going to go ahead and do the copying method. So I'll go to the second floor plan, and since I already have the floor selected, I can Control-C to copy. I can also use the copy to clipboard command, but regardless, I'm going to paste and aligned to current view. You can also choose align to selected level if you're not necessarily on that particular level. But regardless, we now have a floor on the second floor. Oh, wait, actually, it's not there yet. Let me go back and do that again. We will copy the floor, we will paste, align to selected view, and choose the second floor. Okay, and it's been created. Now remember, if you want to crop or edit it in any way, you can do that. All you have to do is go into the second floor plan, and click on Edit, and then we can start changing it. So all I did was click Edit Boundary, and that brought up Sketch Mode, and I'm just going to start redoing my lines. Alright, and again, remember, if your model looks different from mine, don't worry about it, just go ahead and edit it the way you choose to. Alright, I'll just go through, do my finishing touches, and then hit the check mark. Alright, I'll click No, and then I have my floor plate. Now, one thing you might notice is some of your walls sticking up through that floor plate. This is because Revit likes to go straight from the first floor to the second floor. Floor plates in Revit are meanwhile built from the top down, starting at the 0 mark. So they're actually occupying the same plane. Now, what you can do is you can either shrink the walls, or you can do a top offset. So you can do an offset of 1 foot, if it is 1 foot. You can also manually attach them, taking the wall and dragging it so it attaches to the base. So what you can do is you can go ahead and click on the wall, and then up at the top of the screen there's a button that says Attach Top Base. So in this case we're attaching the wall to the top level, so we'll make sure top is selected, and then we will just select what we're attaching it to and click on it. So if you want to do that at this point, you can. You can go around and select all the walls and connect them to the top floor. But now I'm going to go up and add a roof. And I'm going to put a square over that lower left corner. You can see these triangles here. Each of these triangles is going to be doing what's called defining a slope. So if you select one, you can see that it's a 9 on 12 slope. If it was 12 on 12, that would mean it would go over 12 inches and up 12 inches, which would make a 45-degree angle. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to undefine it. You can do that by either clicking the check mark above your design or in the Properties menu. So if I undefine the slope there, that means it doesn't have a slope on those sides. It only is going to go up in 2 directions. Now, that might be a little bit too steep for you. So what I'll do is select the roof and go into the Properties menu and reduce it to 3/12, which will make it much less steep. There's also an up and down arrow at the top of the roof, so you can visually and manually change the roof slope if you want. So I'll go back into the second floor plan, and I want a bit of an overhang, so I'm going to use the offset tool up in the toolbar. So I'll click the button. I don't want to make a copy of the line necessarily, and I want the offset to be 1 foot 6 inches. Ooh, okay, there we go. And then if you click on that line for the roof, it will extend it. So if you go ahead and hit the check mark and then go into 3D view, you can see that your roof is now slightly overhanging the building. So again, this may not be the greatest project ever, but it does give you a good idea of how to use different types and how to access them through the Properties window. And I just changed the roof to wood rafters. Although it may not look that different in the 3D view, it will be different and have different properties in a cut-through. Alright, so where we are now, if you want to, you can keep on adding roofs to the next level of the house. But what I want to do first, before the end of this tutorial, is show you how to create a foundation. Now, if you remember back to our first tutorial, we showed you how to make a basement plan. So go ahead now and click on Basement Plan. The first thing you'll notice is that you can't actually see your building here. So how do we draw what we can't see? Well, go ahead and click off of everything, and then look over to the Properties browser. If you scroll down, you'll see a category called Underlay. Underlay is basically ghosting in what lies above or below a given floor. So under that menu, if we go ahead and select First Floor, then from the basement we'll be able to see the outline of our first floor. So under that menu, if we go ahead and select First Floor, then from the basement we'll be able to see the outline of our first floor. So now all you have to do is go up to the Sketch command, choose the one you prefer, and begin sketching the foundation for your house. All of those sketch commands will be available no matter what your building project, whether it's doors, walls, whatever. Alright, and so once you start that, you can just go ahead and begin drawing out your foundation. So that's it for this lesson. I'm just going to finish drawing the outline of the foundation, and in the next lesson we will go over annotations, family components, and rooms. See you then!